Another day, more approaching to do upon people. My fave. Still entertained about this deck. I know it's probably a little bit boring for the viewers, but I'm gonna keep playing it till it's not entertaining to me. Or till at least until it starts losing. Neither of those seem to be things yet. What's up, Dan? Oh crap, I didn't hear the match start. That could be because I have my volume turned off. Great, I'm so smart. This hand is everything that I've ever wanted, except about a million lands and any type of interactive spell. I'm gonna assume that they're like, I don't know, Mardu or something. Looks like it's or something. Oh god. With that, this is quite horrible. This is one of our worst matches, I think. If they have an appointed procession or whatever it's called, they're definitely faster than us. If they're not an appointed procession, they're probably not faster than us. I could have cycled a Censor last turn, but I knew I'd have the mana this turn, and I'm not 100% sure that I want to cycle both. They have been so far. Whether they remain to be so going forward, who knows? They have been so far. Oh, a second stockpile. Well, let's start with a cycle. We got a land. That's probably too good for them to have. Ooh, another land. Happy days. Everything's coming up, Ray. Hopefully this land will find us about a million more lands. Literal million. I would Supreme Will an Anointed, but I wouldn't Supreme Will any card other than Anointed or Gideon. I'm gonna take both of these. We have to have them at some point. Alright, apparently I'm gonna need a new mouse. What are you into today, James? I saw you watching Mr. Fundermo. Still have a counterspell for his bigger payoff card if we care. As of right now, we don't care. Just a ray of sunshine. I like that. Oh, it's just not casting spells. I'm not really sure why. It's like not casting spells and not attacking with that. Do we care enough to cast out this? Baming. I guess not. Alright, I can cycle, so I guess we'll take 3 more damage. Mainly because we have enough mana to cycle into potentially a draw 2. And if we don't hit the draw 2, we can play this thing. Oh. This one into hand, rests on the bottom in any order. That's 8 more cards we get to look at this turn. I mean 7, sorry. That is not the right draw 2 for 8. Sure, he's going to attack with that as well. Guess we'll start with this. He'll get a token back, but I just kind of want to gain the 4 life. It is not an easy deck to play, but it's pretty powerful in a sense. We don't want to tap below Supreme Will because he could still have just a really strong card to play here. Put 5 cards on the bottom so far, so we're like 26 cards deep and we've not even saw Fumigate. "26 cards deep and not saw a Fumigate or a approach." Yeah. So now that was an additional 3 cards, so we're 8, 29, we're 31 cards deep? Is that right? That's pretty unlucky, I guess. Still have plenty of life, though. Sure. I'm going to start this turn with this draw. There's Fumigates. That being said, since we found Fumigates, I guess we'll just... we're going to take it. Yeah, opponent's not really did anything, but still. That's pretty deep into the deck. Bottom, tops, that's the 9th card we've scribed to the bottom. Just kills these things. It doesn't really do anything super relevant. He gets 2 scribes out of it. So 9 cards on the bottom at the moment that we've put, so we're 37 cards deep at the moment. Screw Card Cave, they're overpriced. Sure. Another Hidden Stockpile's a good one. Kinda hope he attacks with the Shambling Vent. No attack with the Shambling Vent. Well, that makes me a little sad. Alright, so there we go. this one to the bottom, this one to the top. I would volunteer to loan them to you, but I'm not 100% sure that I'll be in attendance, so that makes it hard for me to volunteer. I need to make my... Well, God damn it, I can't even type. How you doing today, Goose? Sure. Opponent only gets one more untapped step, so none of this stuff seems like it really matters too much. Yeah, I'm not really worried about that. Go ahead and gain 4. I mean, I'm going to try to be there, but I'm expecting bad news from the doctor, to be honest. But we have 7 mana, and we've looked at about 1,000,000 things, so... Might as well see if we get lucky. We did not get lucky. I mean, we're still 17 life. I guess it doesn't matter. Confumigate. We win on the next turn, so... I don't really see our opponent dealing 23 damage to us this turn. We're so in luck. So that was 3 cards we drew. Yeah. Prevent 2, I guess. I don't really even care. So... Well, I didn't mean to cycle that, but it's fine. That was kind of a misclick, but it's fine. I was probably going to cast them both that turn anyway. Hey, Total. What are you into? Did you enjoy the Grand Prix? This match is actually a little bit hard. He never drew an Anointed Procession, so that really helps us in that regard. I still have this little card in my sideboard specifically because of this match, but I'm pretty sure this little card's not very good and probably shouldn't be in the deck in general. The negates seem fine because he's probably going to have Gideon's, and Gideon's a very hard card for me to beat. I'm probably going to bring in at least some number of this sideboardy stuff. Just... Yeah, I'm glad you had fun. I'm glad it was good. Just in case he has Lost Legacy, you never really know what they'll have. So I'm kind of like hedging a little bit. Doing pretty good. A little bit sleepy today. Got a lot of stuff on the schedule, but trying to get a stream in before we go crazy. I don't think the counterspells are particularly great in this match. I don't actually think these cats are particularly great either. I actually just don't like these cats at all. I'm not sure whether I like to afford these or not. They seem like they do good stuff, but like they also don't do good stuff. They do make his stockpile shenanigans slightly worse. Probably just not strong enough. into abstract. Don't really want the descent either. Don't have a lot. I took out the second hours, so like the sideboarding is quite more or much more awkward now. I used to have a second hours for matches like this. But we have no blue mana, so we'll mulligan. Well we drew our hours, so I guess I'll keep. We'll put random land on bottom. I noticed you playing black-green yesterday. Did you enjoy it? Was the black-green deck as good as I want it to be? Well, that's his best card. Certainly not letting him have a second one of those, am I? I guess I probably am. We have this hours. That could turn out being terrible. All you has to do is have like a transgress or something and wreck us. Also should have played the Prairie Streams there in case I top decked the Plains, but I'm not a particularly good player, so that was a pretty marginal mistake, I think. That's pretty strong. I didn't do very well when I tried it, but the sideboard I played I think was a lot worse than the sideboard you were playing. I was a pretty big fan of the sideboard you were playing. So this little card is going to be kind of aggravating. Kind of just want to find a Fumigate. And neither of those cards really do what we need right here. There's an Approach. Our opponent's not going all out on his stuff. I think he's potentially playing around counter spells or whatever a little bit too much. I'm not actually sure what he's playing around. He did this last game too where he wasn't trying to leverage the stockpiles. And I'm not sure why you wouldn't try to leverage stockpiles. Could have an Archangel Avacyn or something, but like killing the stockpiles is all I really care about. We'd have a Fumigate if he did have an Archangel. Our hand's pretty loaded at the moment, and this is why we bring in the sideboard plan, because we don't really care if he resolves a Lost Legacy. And you can't really ever stop them from resolving a Lost Legacy, because they can always just resolve it when you tap for your 7 mana sorcery. They can just untap and play it. Like how I actually get to draw a card when I was less likely to win with the Approach than I was with my creatures from this board spot. Kind of hope we draw just another land. Always want to draw another land. It's something you'll hear me say millions of times because millions of peaches. So we have Gear Hulks and we have Limvalas and we have a Fumigate to get ahead of the board again, if that happens. I mean, sure. So Transgress, not super worried about a Transgress from this spot. We only had one card to get out of our graveyard with a Gear Hulk anyway. I guess a Gideon would be slightly annoying. I'm not going to flash into Gearhulk just in case he did have a Gideon as his leftovers. Well, that's a good card. That card might be enough. If he draws anything to go with it. We still have 3 cast outs, but one's on the bottom of the deck. He's only got 1 card in hand, so I'm just going to go ahead and play the Gearhulk so I can F6. Just don't want either of those. Supreme Will's kind of nice. He has to have another land before he can even get a Anointed down with the Supreme Will. This is a pretty fast clock. We still have tons of card draw too if it becomes relevant. Sacrifice a creature, you gain 1 life and draw a card. Well, that's a pretty good one. That card definitely does things. That card makes us need to actually find one of the cast outs now. So we can counterspell anything that matters. Lost Legacy. So I guess he calls Limvala? Well, Limvala's really my only way left to win, right? Yeah, Limvala's really my only way left to win, so. We'll go ahead and protect from a Limvala. Or protect our Limvala. That was a good one. Not actually sure if I care more about the stockpiles or if I care more about the Vampiric Rites here. But I want to go ahead and get this in while I can. I should have played it pre-combat. That was a mistake. I didn't know that I was going to attack. Or I didn't know that I was going to play it, and I should have thought about that prior to the attack. When I originally attacked, I was sold on casting the cast out, but like I should have just thought about it more. There's no reason not to think about it more. So when I changed my mind in my second main phase, I cost myself 5 points of life, which was pretty bad. It's actually kind of a pretty large play mistake that I made. I don't know if it affects anything in the grand scheme of the game, but like, it was still a play mistake. Anointed Procession. Well, that affects things. Pretty sure I have to get the stockpiles and not the rights. We've already gone through 2 other stockpiles. He's got a don't want him to gain any additional life, so... We're going to cast out this turn as well on the stockpile. I assume he's going to sacrifice this in response or whatever, but... He did not. Wonder why he didn't. Sure. So we have one kill condition in our deck? Still have one kill condition, right? Yeah, we have one Linvala left. What's up, Dumbo? This game has become interesting now. I might need the carousels. That's a Sorin. That's a pretty hard card for me to beat too. I need another cast out to beat it. The second Lost Legacy a while ago was pretty bad for me. Oh. Well, that was a good draw. Guess we're not worried about the horse. We know he has a horse in hand, so... It's a 2-turn clock. And he had one dead card in hand. If he draws another answer to the Linvala, though, the game's over. We don't have another kill condition because of how the game's played out. Sure. Doesn't really change anything. Still know he has a horse in his hand. So he has to hit with either this draw step or that Vampiric Rites. Tapping 2 mana, so I guess he's going to sack to the Rites first. Play the horse post-combat and get a second horse. He conceded? Oh, he's only at 5 life. For some reason I thought he'd be at 6. I'm bad at math. Whatever. Not an easy match, and we definitely got past it. Opponent cast 2 Lost Legacies, resolved 1, we still beat it. And he got one of our 4 additional threats with a Transgress. I would tell people to spam this, but you people haven't given me enough money to spam that, so screw you. I kid. No, I'm a pretty big fan of that black-green deck too. I played it in the Ilmo CS, but I played a build with a sideboard that I did not like at all. And my sideboard seemed pretty poor. This is pretty easy mulligan, I think. I think it's too easy to miss lands. That being said, I kind of actually just want to test out keeping looser hands like this and see how they work, so I'm going to keep this mostly for science. I don't think it's actually that good, but like I said, I want to keep it mostly for science. Like, versus the black-green decks and stuff, and the teamer decks, I'm starting to think that the approaches are just fast enough, but they may not be. So he's playing red-white. He's probably either playing the Desert Control deck, or he's probably playing Mardu when he plays the... Oh. He's playing a very fast deck. It's kind of scary. Hmm. I don't know what our opponent's playing now. And a tireless tracker? Huh. I guess I kind of want to censor the tireless tracker. Is that wrong? I also kind of need to cycle the censor for a land. Tireless tracker does so much work though, and he only has 3 more cards in hand. I feel like even if I miss a land drop, if I miss a land drop, I have a better chance of winning than letting him resolve that and hitting my land drop. Instant regret. I'm just fine missing the land drop here. We kept a pretty loose hand, and it didn't get any better when we used that censor. We'll go ahead and make him. Whoops. We'll go ahead and make him sacrifice the attacking guy. And our 11th card needs to be a 3rd land. Our 11th card was not a 3rd land. Our 12th card was also not a 3rd land. So we probably don't win unless the next card is an untapped land. He's got a Gideon. Just pick the cards up. We have no chance versus a Gideon. Still not a land. We'll go ahead and casting this now because they could have blossoming defense. If we hit 1 land, we should be okay. We're under no real pressure, and the Supreme Will should get us to another land. He can gain 1 life and deal 1 damage if he wants. That kind of lets us know he doesn't really have anything else to do with energy. But we got to the land. Let's just hope it's not too late now. Could be too late at this point. I mean, it was our 3rd land on turn 6. And we scryed 1 card, so we were an additional card down. Does he have another one of that card? Can technically beat that if he does. Oh, he's just playing around Blessed Alliance, I guess. Sure, good. Good. Exactly what I wanted. Now we have counterspells and or glimmers depending upon what he has. We're pretty decent versus everything but planeswalkers at this point. Yeah, I'm guessing he just drew a bunch of removal spells because he's also not been playing lands. What does my eye see? Please be nothing but lands. Thank you. It's an odd time to play that card on the turn that I get to untap. With 5? Oh, we don't want that. We do want that. I'm not even worried about a Planeswalker at this point. I guess a big Chandra is still fast enough to kill us, but with the exception of Big Chandra, I'm not sure that there's a card that beats us in Standard from here. In that color pie. I mean, like, obviously Lost Legacy would beat us. I'm talking about in that color pie. Maybe Arlencord. To be completely honest, I've not read Arlencord in so many years that I don't really remember what it does. Sure. We'll kill that thing too, I guess. Nah. Not gonna bother killing that thing. We have an Aether Meltdown, so we might as well hold up the Supreme Will. The opponent didn't do anything. He has to be on a fast deck, though. Like, you don't play Voltaic Brawler and Thalia's Lieutenant and not be a fast deck. He just got a bad draw like we did. He didn't even attack. I guess he's that worried about Blessed Alliance? I'm not sure. Okay. So opponent has to deal 22 damage inside of a turn. Or find a way to kill our lands, I guess. I don't really think either of those are happening. It'd probably be hard for him to kill us that quickly within multiple turns, but... Or kill us from this life total within multiple turns, I mean. I would say I could naturally draw to that card again. Heron's Grace is going to be annoying, though. We'll have to really think about that card more in the opposing game. Like, he's got multiple flash creatures. He's at least running 3 of these, because we've saw 3 of these. This was Paper Magic. We could just show him to approach and go on. I like how it says Searsist has cast this spell. He's attacking with the Archangel now to protect from Blessed Alliance. Whee! So, post board. Cat seemed like they would buy some amount of time, and Linvala seemed like they'd buy some amount of time. He didn't show us any hasty creatures, so I don't think we want those. Gearhulks, maybe. Probably Gearhulks. I need to really think about my sideboarding. I need to change my sideboard. I always have exactly one card I don't want to take out. Like every time I sideboard, there is exactly one card too many. I think these cards are just good at buying time. I assume my kill conditions still approach here, but like these cards actually just buy you a lot of time. And I play this deck more as a turbo fog deck than a control deck. I think that's why I seem to have more success with it than a lot of other people. Hey, the new YouTube video's up. Yep, this hand looks like it stalls pretty well. So we'll keep. Opponent mulligan last game, though, and had a bad draw, so... Edit. He didn't let the energy get in his account before he tapped his mana, and now it won't let him untap it. That's one of those annoying Moto things. One of those annoying Moto things. And new YouTube video has a bunch of tags on it now. Exclamation mark deck list. There we go. I got you, fam. Let me double check and make sure it's updated, but I'm pretty sure it is. Yep, it's updated. That card's actually pretty good versus me as well. No problem. I've not done a whole lot of tinkering to it. The 40s we're trying from the main deck have actually been pretty good. It was a Daniel, I believe this, I'm bad at pronouncing things, but I believe it's Fortner from the MTGO PTQ last weekend. They've actually overperformed. There's still some more tinkering to do on the sideboard. A lot of the cards have been mediocre. Like, the Torrential Gearhulks have been mediocre, but, like, I'm not really sure what's better than them. Oh, nothing. I was just talking out loud. I was updating my YouTube tags for today's video when I said that. Nothing special. I was just talking out loud. I was dictating what I was doing in life at the moment. Sorry, I shouldn't even have said that stuff out loud. My bad. Well, we want to land, so we'll look for a land and be sad when we don't hit it again. Well, we hit one. Happy days, friends. Still have an Effort Meltdown for the Harvester. Oh, that's a good card. When I'm streaming, I have a bad habit to anything I'm doing verbally say. Like, even when I go get a drink of water, I'll often be like, taking a drink of water, just because I don't know, being weird, I guess. We definitely need to hit some lands. This game's looking worse and worse for us. Most games where you're missing land drops will look worse and worse, though. Rip. Oh, can't miss land drops, so. Oh, I guess we can miss land drops, can't we? And we're 16 cards deep and not saw a fourth land this game. I believe this deck is good in the meta, and I believe it's decent versus the red decks. I think you're a slight favorite, but obviously the red decks can get draws that you just can't beat. But I love this deck versus zombies, and I love this deck versus black-green. This deck has a little bit of trouble with the more roguish decks. I've not did real well with against ramp, and I've not did super well versus the other control decks, but at the moment I only have 2 negates in the entire sideboard. Like, those matches can be fixed. Like, the Gearhulks could possibly just be stubborn denials. Or not stubborn denial, summary dismissal. And you'd be a pretty big favorite if they were summary dismissal, I think. We're not in great shape this game. Yeah, game one, I've been able to mill them pretty easily, which helps a ton in paper, but hasn't helped a lot on Moto. Game 2 and 3 are very difficult. But if you win game 1 in paper, you generally don't have to play game 2 and 3. Unfortunately, on Moto, you pretty much always have to play the game 2 and 3 regardless. So we're not in great shape here. And he's got a lot of top decks that'll just beat us. But we're going to have to play Terra out, so we're going to have to try to get lucky. It's attacking for 7. And we're just going to gain 4 life. And we're going to hope we hit an untapped land. Again, we cast a Supreme Will and cycle to cast out, yet we still don't have 5 lands in 6 turns. Or we only got our 5th land on our 6th turn, let me rephrase. So, like we should have been able to cast that Fumigate last turn in most situations. I have a pretty good life total now, and the Regal Carousel is going to buy us a lot of time if he even remotely whiffs on this turn, which it looks like he has so far, but he has the clue for a draw. He should have tapped one of the Hanawirs, because now if he draws a castable spell, it likely won't have haste. And now Kitty's come to town. Meow, 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 meow. Sorry. The Hour in the sideboard is kind of a hedge versus like the black-white token decks. You have you have an easy time stalling versus them, but they can just overrun you after enough turns with the Anointed Possessions and the Hidden Stockpiles. It's also been good versus the black-green decks that are playing multiple Planeswalkers as well. Because it's easy for you to kill their board, but it's hard for you to kill their board while keeping a Nissa or a Liliana off the table while combating their Hissing Quagmires. But it's probably not good enough. We started with 2 with the list. We've cut down to 1, and it's on the chopping block as a card that may potentially be able to be cut. I have no clue what our opponent just did. He like activated his Ether Harvester for some reason. But it's one of the cards that we're considering cutting from the board. I'll after this particular game's over, while we're waiting for the next queue, I'll open up the sideboard and tell you the cards that have kind of underperformed so far. And our opponent's flooding out pretty hard, and we got double cat, so it's going to be pretty hard for him to come back into this game. In fact, I don't think he can come back into this game from here. Like, we get to gain 12 life a turn now. It's probably just too much for him. The main decks felt really good, though. A lot of people look at the main deck and they see Ether Meltdown and Blessed Alliance and, like, immediately disregard it. But like, there's not always an Nefer Meltdown in play when you want to play the Blessed Alliance, and I think you just need more interactive spells for 2 mana that can deal with gods. And that's why I think the Meltdown's better than a Mobilizing Glare. It gives all other cats lifelink, so like this Regal will give this Regal lifelink, and this Regal will give this Regal lifelink. It doesn't have lifelink by itself, but all the tokens have lifelink. So like the Regal gives all other cats lifelink, so the 2 tokens it makes gets lifelink. When you have double Regal, you get both of them lifelinking, so technically I was gaining 20 life, but yeah. Anyway, so we'll start up the queue. Nationals, Zombies is probably just the best deck to play to beat red, but in the sideboard, the Gearhulks have underperformed, the Hours is underperformed, and the Lilianas have underperformed. So like these 5 cards have kind of, come on Moto. These 5 cards have underperformed a lot in the sideboard. Daniel Forney, the guy I told you who I based these changes on, he tried Spell Quellers over some of these cards, but he said the Spell Quellers hadn't worked as well. Ode Snares. I'm not sure I know what snare is. Sorry, most of my paper cards are in Russian, so I don't know the names of a lot of cards. Oh, Stasis Snare. Sure. Yeah, Stasis Snare's 3 mana though, and if you're on the draw versus mono red, that's often too slow. It's all about just having another interactive spell for the early games. This deck even used to play Unsummon over the authorities. Again, all about the red decks. But the Unsummons aren't good enough. These authorities have been surprisingly good though. Like, they've been good versus non-red matches. Like versus Teamer, you stop Glorybringers and you stop Big Chandra if they have it. Versus the black-red decks, you can stop the Big Chandra. Versus the ramp decks, it can stop the Big Chandra. And versus even like the black-green decks and the other little aggro decks like Zombies and stuff, like just being able to gain 3 or 4 life over the course of a game in combination with the Fumigates can give you an extra 2 to 3 turns. And this deck really, god dang it, I didn't get to the queue in time because I'm too busy running my mouth and nobody wants to hear me. The deck's been pretty strong though. The one thing I'll say about this deck is it's a 25 land deck, and when you're forced to cast your Supreme Wills and you're forced to cast your Censors in the early game to like counterspell a spell, then you often miss on lands, and this deck doesn't do well on missing on lands, so for the most part, like, it loses to itself more than I would like if I was playing in a large tournament. Yeah, I saw that too. He said the cards weren't very good. I personally haven't even tried them. I just asked him how good they were, and he said they weren't very good. I don't know if they're good or not. Like I said, I've not played versus them. He just specifically said that they weren't very good. A 26 land is something I've considered a lot. Before we made the change and put in the sorry, I brain fart on names a lot. Before we put the 40s in the main deck, we were going to cut Unsummons and like we were going to try a 26 land and a Gideon, or a 26 land and a Stasis Snare. Sorry, a 26 land and a Little Gideon, or a 26 land and a Stasis Snare. But like, we never got around to that because we've just been trying this one. When you get to cycle your Censors and stuff, finding the lands isn't super hard. It's the games where you don't get to do that. So we're playing versus actual black-green Delirium. Not something you get paired versus a great deal. Highly unlikely we'll need both cast outs, and highly unlikely we'll need both Censors. So like, this game should be easy for us to get to 7th land because we immediately got to cycle. So like, even this will gain us like 5 or 6 life this game. So like, even in a match where it looks absolutely horrible, this card is going to be like an extra time walk. Holy shit, somebody that I don't know subscribed to me. That's absolutely amazing. I appreciate it, man. If you don't know, you can type, we have an emote. I don't know how to type it to where you can see it. Oh, sorry. So like Searsy Rip, spam it everywhere. My accent's from. I appreciate the sub. I actually do appreciate that. You're the first person that subbed to me that I don't know in real life. I'm from Eastern Kentucky. About 15 minutes from the Virginia line, about 45 minutes from West Virginia. If you've ever watched like, well, actually you do. I'm confused. I don't know what you're saying. If you've ever watched the Kevin Costner, Bill Paxton TV show or TV miniseries called The Hatfield and McCoys, we live in about an hour from that general area. So since he's playing this, I'm going to assume he's on the Scarab God build, and I'm just going to cycle the Censor, I think. Actually, I'm not going to cycle the Censor either. He could just untap and have Liliana. But I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it a lot for the sub. Oh, I do know you. Okay. BLM Moore, Kentucky. I'm going to assume you're Brandon Morvin. Because I believe Brandon's the only Moore I know. I won't swear to that, but I believe it. Either way, I still appreciate it. That's just pretty sick. Hey, I guessed right. I thought it was the only Moore I know. How you been? Do you still play Magic? I think the last time we talked you were mostly playing Commander, but I won't swear to that because I have the memory of a goldfish. I don't know what I'm really looking for here. I have every card that I want. All I want to do is stall for time now. I've been working on a Commander deck. I still need to get a food chain to finish it off. I was going to play General Tazzy. A lot of the locals at the store I play at, Page 3, they absolutely love Commanders, so. I mean, I kind of don't want that in his graveyard because he has 7 mana next turn. And him just drawing a bunch of cards seems like it hurts, but quite frankly, I guess I don't even care if he does that. If he's doing that, he's not stopping the approach, so. And anything he resolves this turn, with the exception of Liliana, we can just fumigate. Well, it's not technically a D, but yeah. So this is the Liliana that I was somewhat afraid of. But like, I'm not even real afraid of it. It doesn't do anything. And that's why we saved the cast out. Thank you for following Seed LT and Laka Bose. Do you play mostly a Hobgoblin? Over there with Jody and those folks? So opponent will currently be on a 7-turn clock, but they may have the river or whatever. See, these little authority, even versus decks that they're clearly not in the deck for, and that they're not very good versus, like, they still just give you a lot of value. We have double Fumigate, so we have double Fumigate and a draw 2 on board. So I'm going to assume, with the exception of Scarab God, that it's not going to be particularly hard for us to survive. It's gained us 7 life this game. I like to keep a little track, or I like to use something to keep track of what... Okay, he scooped. I was going to say to keep track of how far the 40 is down, but... This new format's pretty good. I wish the red deck wasn't a deck, but with the exception of the red deck, I like everything about this format, and I like the red deck too. I do think the red deck confines deck building a little bit more than I would like. So I'll bring the Hours in here because they have a lot of big creatures and they have at least some number of Planeswalkers and could have more Planeswalkers post board. As usual, I'll bring in the not the full sideboard package because these don't match up well. Sorry, these don't match up well versus Ishkana, but I'll bring in at least a few extra kill conditions just in case they're on a Linvala plan, or sorry, on the Lost Legacy plan. And I'll sideboard out some of the counter spells as always. I always sideboard out at least these 5 cards in roughly every match. And then after those 5 cards, things get a little difficult. I don't think Effort Meltdown is as great in this match as it is in other matches. So we'll go ahead and dump a couple of those as well. Actually, we could probably just dump all the Effort Meltdowns this match. We added in the 5th, 6th, and 7th sweeper, so I don't think we're going to be casting that many Meltdowns. And we got 2 sweepers and we got 2 counter spells, so I think this is a keep. Is this deck over here what Thundermo plays? I'm not actually sure what Thundermo 75 looks like. I think he has less green cards though. Isn't he mostly a blue-black deck that just sideboards into Graph Widow? Or not sideboards, sorry, runs green for Graph Widow. I think he is, but I won't swear. So he can't get that. He's got to grab one of these lands. Took the island. It's pretty decent. Especially if he doesn't have Lost Legacy in his deck. What's up, Sean? What are you into today, bub? Strategic planning. Don't care about. Will not use a sensor on any 1-drop that he has. Vessel is pretty slow versus the red decks, but the red decks are becoming less and less popular, so. Like, maybe we don't have to have cards specifically for the red decks anymore? I could have censored that, but I'll probably be able to censor whatever he gets, so. Oh, Scarab God. It's a good thing we have this Descent, then. I like how you've talked 2 messages and I've responded to you, and then it says that you're now watching the chat. Don't want him to draw cards, don't want him to put cards in his graveyard, so I'd rather just go ahead and cancel that while I can. Scarab God might do decent work here, and by do decent work I mean get counterspelled. This hand's not great though. Like, we're not getting anywhere and we're not getting there fast. Oh Lord. Well, that just feels great. So we're looking for a draw 2 of this, but we'd also keep an approach. Don't really want any of those cards. I guess this one can kill a Liliana if he has it, so. Killing a Liliana is better than not killing a Liliana. It's good to put 3 deadish cards on the bottom of the deck, though. I wonder if I can just start casting Fumigates into the Scarab Gods and making him waste turns. That feels like the most it feels like the most Turbo Fog-ish thing to do. This deck really is just kind of a Turbo Fog deck. And by Turbo Fog, I mean it's just a fog deck. Do I care about that card at all? No. Wouldn't matter if I did care about it. I can't do anything about it. Bottom. Come on, Moto. Said bottom. There you go. I'm just gonna cast Fumigate. We have 1,000 of them. Yeah, I know that, but I was just trying to think of ways to make him tap his mana every turn without doing anything proactive. Like, it's just trying to think of ways to make him constantly tap that mana. There's a Linvala. Sorry, Liliana. We've got this for a Liliana, which is nice. Hopefully he doesn't have multiple Lilianas. Second Liliana would be a little bit hard here. And by a little bit hard, I mean we've just cast a Fumigate and go on about our day. Alright, so that's a god. Yeah, let's go ahead and get the god off the table, I guess. No respect has been called. Transgress. Sure. I don't want any of my cards, so... I'm not going to cycle the cast out because I like the Supreme Will more than the cast out, and that could give him an easy way just to take the Supreme Will. Whereas when he casts Transgress and sees his hand, he's more likely to take the cast out. Okay, he didn't take the cast out, which is good. He gives us some interaction with another Liliana, which is clearly the best card he could have for us right now. I'd like to find another draw too, but we sideboarded 2 out, so there's only 4 more left in the deck. Sure. Guess we'll draw a bunch of cards, but we're just going to cast Fumigate on it. Fumigate and or Approach. He's got another Champion of the Wills to put in his graveyard now. And cycle this one. We could hit an Approach. We did not hit an Approach. This game appears to be going nowhere fast from both sides of the table. I'm not going to use a cast out again. If he has the Transgress, that's fine. Depends on how many negates he has and how many Lost Legacies he has. Like, we're certainly not bad of a shape, but I wouldn't say bye. Like, you just have a negate here and it's pretty bad for us. Makes me actually have to cast a cast out that I don't really want to cast. We've gone through most of our sweepers now as well. There's 1 Descent and 1 Fumigate left in the deck, so we're drawing pretty thin. I may should have brought a Hieroglyph in instead of one of the Supreme Wills. But yeah, he's getting to do basically anything he wants right now. He's 37 cards deep in his deck, so there's a high likelihood that he has multiple, there's a very high likelihood that he has multiple negates. Go ahead and cycle this. Like, we need to find something realistic here. No, I doubt it. I'd say he has the full 4 Lilianas. And that that's more Lilianas than we even have cast outs, so. Like, there's one cast out left in our deck. There's probably 3 Lilianas left in his deck. I had F6 pressed, or I could have gained 4 life, so I guess that's a kind of a minor mistake. So we could be 27 right now if I hadn't pressed F6, but... Don't want out of review. Okay. We actually get an angel from this one. Don't think the angel does a lot, but like he'll pretty clearly have a way to kill it, I think, or ignore it in the next, 7 attack steps or whatever it takes for an angel to win. We have no more Wraths in our deck, by the way. So anything he plays on the board for the rest of the game is something that he plays on the board, or something that's on the board for the rest of the game. And there's not a lot we can do about most of it. Yep. So we kind of have to hit approach basically this turn to have a chance. And that might not even be good enough. Basically, yeah. So if he has another negate, which, like I said, it's pretty likely because he's 40 cards deep now, we probably can't win. Well, waiting on this cast out doesn't really get us anywhere, so. Should gain us 5 life at least. Still 3 cards down for the approach, and I'm just going to assume he has a negate. Unless he did not deal damage to us with his Ishkana post-combat. He's got a second gear hook. 4, 5, 6, 7 this time? Wonder what he has. Yeah, that could be accurate. It's probably what I'm going to do post board. Or probably what I'm going to do for game 3. I'm definitely missing the card draw spells. I didn't think the game would come out like this. I guess we just take 5? Or do we double block? Yeah, fine with double blocking, I guess. Kind of just don't want to take any damage at all, because I assume we're going to have to cast 2 approaches to win. Well, that's a good draw. That's a good draw. We'd be at 28 right now, too, if I had an F6 to 1 turn, so. What's our opponent playing here? Seven mana again? Is it just another champion? It's Transgress. Well then. If I cast Glimmer, I'm going to draw an approach. But I kind of want to get the Gearhulk in play. There's 2 other approaches in the deck as well, so. There's also negates in the deck, probably. I brought in the negates, didn't I? Yeah, I brought in negates. Think this is worth it then? Put on top. Put on top. So the next cards should be have the approach with them, and we pretty well just have to hope that he doesn't have a negate. But like I said, it's absurdly easy for him to have a negate right now. I guess our top two cards could also just be approach and a great and negate. Yeah, prevent as much damage as possible. I'm extremely worried about Liliana. Well, there's a negate. If he has two, we're dead. If he has one, we win. I'm also worried about his own negates. He could have two here. Like, it's not unreasonable for him to have two here. Does he have the third negate? He has the third negate, friends, so I think we're just dead then. I'm too lazy really to do the math. 5, 9, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Nope, not dead. Do we? Let's see, 5, 9, 10, 15, 19. Not dead. So we have exactly one draw step to find another approach. And it may not be good enough. Opponent did hit 3 negates though, but the opponent's going through 50 cards. It's pretty easy for him to hit 3 negates. Alright, well, next game. So we wouldn't be alive even if we hadn't made the play mistake. So at least the play mistake didn't matter at all. We'll go ahead and dump those and bring at least these in. Not sure what else we're going to bring in. Again, the Regals just don't seem like they do anything versus Graph Widow. Don't seem like they do anything versus Graph Widow at all. In fairness, most of our cards don't seem like they do anything versus what he's got. The Linvalas don't seem particularly good here either. We did see 50 cards. Can we safely assume that he's not a Lost Legacy deck then? Do I want a Meltdown, a Council, or an Alliance? Don't really want any of them, do I? I guess we'll take the Alliance, in case he slips something by. Them Valas don't really do anything either, do they? Eh. Sure. It's not an easy match. He's got a lot of diverse threats that are hard for us to answer. Alright, this hand's great. Got this awkward Blessed Alliance. If we knew we were going to draw it on turn 1, it'd probably be an authority of the councils, but you don't know that we're going to draw it on turn 1. I kind of want to censor that. I guess I'm not going to, but I kind of want to. Champion of Wits to the graveyard. Well, we got a few things this cycle now to potentially get our 4th land. I just think the game's going to go so long that him casting a strategic planning or not casting a strategic planning early in the game doesn't matter. Like, I expect this game to go 12 to 20 turns. And if it's going to go 12 to 20 turns, whatever happens in the first couple turns just doesn't matter. And I'd rather try to guarantee hitting our land drop. But that could be wrong. I think the only cards that really matter are his negates and his Lilianas. I mean, and Lost Legacies if he happens to have them. We don't know that he has them. Probably takes a cast out here if he has a Liliana. Takes a draw 2 if he doesn't. Or maybe he takes a draw 2 if he has a negate. The draw 2 is the better card in our hand. That Censor's a pretty good draw step. Doesn't really have anything to buy back now with a Liliana, so... Can't stop that anyway. Well, this is bad, folks. Not good. Missing a land drop and can't really cast a Glimmer on this turn. The Mindbender is in fact in his yard, but we didn't have any cards in our hand that mattered. Until we drew the 2 Glimmers, our hand was just kind of blanks. Like, if he Mindbenders me and takes a Blessed Alliance and a Fumigate, which is what he would have been taking if he had the Liliana last turn, then it's not that bad for us. Alright. I'm not going to miss the land drop a second time. He's not going to play around anything. He's going to try to resolve whatever he tries to resolve regardless. So now he can take a Wrath of God type spell and a Torrential Gearhulk, which kind of sucks. It's an argument that I could have put a Torrential Gearhulk on the bottom, but the Torrential Gearhulk also doesn't do anything on the bottom. Like, we don't have a way to shuffle our deck, and the Torrential Gearhulk being the bottom of our deck isn't going to help us win. So if he casts a Liliana here, we're in pretty rough shape. Well, that's kind of peculiar. I would have assumed... He doesn't get the Cast Trigger, does he? Yeah, he doesn't get the Cast Trigger from the Distended Mindbender anyway, James. He certainly does from that one, though, doesn't he? He's going to make us discard this anyway, so we're just going to see if we can find some lands with the Glimmer. Well, you're not a land, so I guess we can put you on bottom. Actually, we can just draw you. Yeah, I'll put them both on top. Let him take the cast out. Don't really care. I would rather him get the cast out than him get an approach. So this is basically, I kept the cast out mostly to make sure he didn't draw a card. He still has nothing else in his graveyard that we care about in terms of the Liliana either. He's got like another Graph Widow. Well, only a Graph Widow. It's the one he sacked for the Mindbender, but... And 3 Rafts. So we got a lot of time. He's already gone through 2 negates, and he discarded one of the negates with his vessel, so there's only 1 negate left in his deck. Sure. It's a decent enough amount of life to go ahead and play. I think we win if we find the approach in time. Don't really care about anything like that. We still have hours to try to draw to at some point. Sure, another spider. Which means another fumigate. Just try to get as much value as we can out of those spells. The Liliana is a bit of a problem though, and we've already gone through 2 cast outs. Sure, that one can stay in play for a little while if he doesn't cast anything to go with it. This is definitely a hard match. Somebody earlier said this match seemed like a bye, but this is not an easy match. One of this deck's biggest weaknesses is Planeswalkers, and they're playing a deck that basically revolves around a Planeswalker, so it's definitely one of the harder matches for our deck. We get a little dude this time, which is kind of cool, but little dude doesn't do a whole lot versus them. Does a little more than normal at the moment because we have a Supreme Will to try to counterspell, like a Gearhulk if that's what he plays. Which we'll try to counterspell because the Angel can kill the Liliana if this resolves. If he plays this 4th negate, we're definitely not unhappy. Have a negate to protect this, so at least we're going to burn down 1 Liliana. We have a negate for a post-Wrath Liliana too, if that's what he has. Still has 5 cards in hand, and he's going 41 cards deep, so like it's just so hard to beat anything that he has. He can just draw so many more cards than us. And our deck's designed to do nothing but draw cards, so the fact that he's out card pacing us is just lets you know what type of deck that is and how much that deck goes, or how hard that deck goes. But again, he's down to 1 negate left in his deck, so I don't feel super unfavored this match. It's still going to be a tough one though. Go ahead and use this. He's tapped out, so. Draw us a nice 2 cards and press F6. Neither of those cards seem to do a whole lot. Like how he's now got so many cards in his graveyard that we have to go looking to see what they are. Play a Cataracts, attack for 4. I mean, we still have a Fumigate. We're in better shape this game than we were last game. We still have the Fumigate in hand and 2 more Wraths in our deck. Can't do anything about Eternalize. So he'll draw 4 cards here, down to 10 left in his deck. Milling him. Another change that I'm considering making to this deck, I think some of these islands should just be the Mill River. Because the Mill River is really nice post-approach to help you get to your approach again. And then the Mill also has some random effects in games like this. So while it's not 4 matches like this, obviously it'd be insane in this particular spot. I wish I could take credit for the idea. That was a Michael Jacob idea. For anybody who's not watched the Darkest Mage or Michael Jacob stream, he's honestly one of the better players in Magic. He fell off of the PT because of some really bad luck in timing and things like that, but like he should be a Pro Tour stalwart. And he never wanted to get back in on it because he kind of felt, I don't know, betrayed, cheated, let down, or whatever. But like, the guy's incredibly good and incredibly smart when it comes to like Magic theory. Anybody who's not watched his stream should just watch as much of it as possible. But that was his idea, and I believe he's entirely correct. I've not tried it yet because I'm a little afraid of the Prairie streams, but like, it's something I need to try. See how many Transgressors are in his graveyard right now. 1. Just 1? Probably not going to cast a... probably not going to look for a negate then. There's still a negate, and there's still some Transgressors. So that's a good card. It's not necessarily a card we're concerned about because of the Fumigates. He's also down to 5 minutes now. He's casting another spell here. Arborback. We don't care about the Arborback at all. Like, we have a Fumigate in our hands, so we don't care about it at all. Play this one first, because if we hit approach, we may save the Glimmer. Hours of Revelation and a Linvala. That seems like 2 cards I kind of want. But we're not going to keep the Linvala. We're just going to go ahead and bottom it again. We're going to put the Hours on top. There's a negate. That's a good spell here. So we get his Liliana, and that is the 3rd Liliana. He may not have a 4th. Him not having a 4th would obviously be insane for us. I'm willing to use my last negate to try to stop another Liliana. A Scarab God. That's pretty brutal. It'd be hard for us to beat a Scarab God. Especially if we don't ever find another approach. Well, there's an approach. I don't know if approach is good enough in this spot. He has 8 cards left. Is approach good enough if he has 8 cards left? I guess it still is. Well, that was a good draw. Yeah, I guess that's a good draw. We have a negate for his last negate, if that's what he has. Yeah, I do like the idea of the rivers. So, Scarab God. He gets back my Gear Hulk and uses my negate versus my cast out. Or uses his negate versus my cast out, rather. Sorry. So if one of these free cards in his hands is fourth negate, things are going to get a little more difficult. He could also still have a removal, or he could still have an appetite. We saw an appetite game 1. He has an appetite, I think we'll lose. Well, he didn't have an appetite, so that was good for us. Well, he has it now. Now it's back to being bad for us. Not sure we're going to win this game. I do not have another. I guess we'll start with this. He may use a counterspell on it. Even if he doesn't, it gives us a large number of lives. I'll go ahead and do this too because it ties up a large amount of his mana. So we're 7 turns away from getting a second approach. Unfortunately, he's 7 turns away from being dead, so. We'll be at 6 cards on our draw step. We have enough mana to do both, so. Should go ahead and Wrath of God again. Try to prevent as much damage as possible. It just goes back to his hand, but he still has to kill us in 5 turns. He still has probably a 4th negate in these 5 last cards too. Like, us drawing that other approach may not win. We can't forget the fact that it just may not win. We have more, we have at least one more Descent that can kill that card for a long-term scenario too. So it's 3 cards after our draw step. Two cards. So how do we survive now? I guess we probably don't, right? What all does he have in his graveyard? Mindbender doesn't do anything. Mindbender doesn't do anything. And Noxious Gearhulk does a lot. Alright. Well, we need that negate to be his bottom card. Need that negate to be his bottom card pretty badly. Because he'll get to scry 2 here, and he'll probably get to scry 3. No, he gets to scry. He gets to find a negate, so I guess we just lose then? So he gets to scry 4 cards or whatever. How could we win? Not sure we can. Oh, he's got to transgress. So, can't win at all. And we died. Rip. That was a little frustrating of a game to lose. He would have had the negate. And then we were dead on board. He looked for every card in his library, so unless he specifically sideboarded the 4th negate out, we didn't have an out. And we know he has 4 negates because, well, he played 4 negates last game. It was a good time for him to draw that 1 transgress. I think we would have won if he hadn't hit the transgress. I may have played poorly too, but it's whatever. Like I said, I think that's a very, very hard match. Alright, well, we'll play first. Hand seems fine. We got lands, we've got a Wrath if we need to get to it, we've got a couple of counter spells and or cantrips. I don't know how well I played. I think I played okay. I might have jumped a gun on a Wrath or two. I may not should have put that cast out in my hand the 1 turn that I know he was mind-bendering it, but it seemed better than like drawing a... Seemed better than drawing a lot of cards and him discarding a card. Didn't think we cared a lot about it. It's going pretty good so far. We're 2-1. We just played a pretty hard match. Kind of just rethinking some of the lines in my head. We sideboarded poorly game 2 for sure. We definitely sideboarded poorly for game 2. So I wonder if this opponent's like Red-Green Pummeler, or I wonder if he's a teamer deck that just didn't draw it yet. Anyway, I'm not going to kill a Servant. Not a second one anyway. It's a good argument that I shouldn't have counterspelled the first one either, but... Alright. Opponent's on some kind of brew. Just hoping that he's not a Chandra deck. I'm going to go ahead and Wrath of God those 2 cards because I don't want him to draw a card. We won the game by the way that we cast Authority of the Consuls. We lost the 2 games that we didn't. Just want to put that out there for anybody who cares. Authority of the Consul beating beating the 3-color Reanimator decks. Yeah. Oh, for all the new people here today, since I actually see a bunch of new people, don't forget down below in the links is a link to my Twitter with every time I go live and every deck list I play on it. On top of that, on my Twitter, there's a link to my YouTube where all of these videos of the day get posted. You can go back and look at lines and deck lists and just generally make fun of me. A lot of people make fun of me. I apparently need to get about 4,000 more views on my YouTube for its next progression. Yeah, it's looking like he's Jund mid-range. I've seen a couple of them. I've not saw a lot, but the Siphoner kind of threw me off. A lot of them are most of the Jund decks I've saw are like kind of red-green decks splashing to black. So the 2-drop black spell kind of threw me off a little bit. Was this a Glorybringer? I'm just gonna cast out it. Yeah. I guess we'll look at our top 4 cards before we make a decision. We could hit a Censor or something. Well, we drew a Censor. I'd rather hold the cast out for a later spell and censor the spell we can actually censor, so... Because the cast out's still good if he plays Planeswalkers. If he's not playing Planeswalkers, we'll probably just cycle it. Opponent missed a land drop and then drew a lot of lands. So that's pretty unlucky for him. He probably is hating me so much. Yeah, opponent missed land drop number 4 and has then played 4 land drops in a row, so he's hating his deck right now as well. No Chandras, please. Alright. You can cast your Bringer of Glory. Your Bringer of Glory will gain me a life. Authority of the Council is doing God's work. I shouldn't say things like that. That's kind of sacrilegious. Some people may care. I apologize if you do. I apologize even if you don't. Oh, well, that's not fun. I still put more value on my cast out than I do anything else. There's no reason to take 4 damage. Like, some of these cards are probably removal spells, so there's a good chance that he doesn't have another creature. And even if he does have another creature, we have at least 10 spot removal spells we're drawing to, and it probably doesn't hit for 4 power, so that one definitely hits for 4 power. Finally drew a draw 2. That's generally what you need to start getting things cycled. Alright, we'll keep both of these. So our approach is 7 cards down. It's always good to keep up with that. Because when you get to talking, I mean, I know in a tournament setting, like if you're playing by yourself, it's pretty easy to keep up with that. But when you're talking to a few people and like checking your email for new followers and stuff like that, it's easy to miscount. It's always better, even if you don't think you'll make a mistake, it's always better to have a little reminder just in case. So we'll be looking at 5 cards. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So another Supreme Will guaranteed gets us there. 2 Cyclers gets us there as well, I believe. Alright, he's done. 2 Cyclers would get us there because we draw the 5th card on our draw step, then the 1st Cycler, then the 2nd Cycler, and we still have enough. So we'd get to the approach at least the 3rd card down, and we had enough mana for them all. Alright, well, I don't actually know opponent's deck list off the top of my head, so we're just going to assume that the full conversion that you guys see me bring in, practically 100% of the matches comes in here. I can't see how it wouldn't be good. Like, all of those cards just buy a lot of time. You pretty well see me take these 5 cards out every game as well. I don't know how much that I should or shouldn't. If I knew he was on Lost Legacy, I'd probably sideboard out at least 1 approach, but we don't know, so we're going to sideboard out a Will on the draw, and probably a Censor on the play, providing nothing changes that makes us want to change our board. I mean, he could play things that makes us change that opinion, but Censors seem to be a little bit better on the draw because they can get us 3 drops. So this is a pretty powerful hand. We just have to draw a bunch of lands. Let's put it in alphabetical order by color because anal. There's an approach. That is not a land. Yes, this is pretty common now that most people just know you're bringing in the creatures, though, so it's like, it's not necessarily a surprise anymore. But I still think it's correct. So we have a sensor for a good free drop right now. Probably would even censor a transgress if given the opportunity. Our hand's powerful enough that I don't think we would want him to resolve a transgress. Alright, well, we wouldn't have that option now, but Long Tusk Cub, well, that's a good one. Alright, goodbye. Looking for lands, looking for Ephemer Meltdowns, and looking for, like, Blessed Alliances. Mostly lands. We'll take the Blessed Alliance. That's the 12th card down, though, and we still only have 3 lands. Which is a little sad, because we kind of need to hit 2 lands running now. Go ahead and make him sacrifice something. Whether he loses the card draw engine or whether he loses his massive threat doesn't really matter. We just want him to lose one of them. If we had a 4th land, like if we hadn't missed our land drop, we would not do that. We just let him hit us, looking to fumigate on the turn after that. But we did not. So we played a lot that we were given. Manlands would be extremely nice. I'm actually going to cast the Glimmer now, because, quite frankly, I don't know what I want to discard, and I might draw a card that I would rather discard than the Glimmer. And we found a card we'd rather discard than the Glimmer, I think. Think I would rather discard a second approach. Yeah, I think I'd rather discard a second approach. Just hoping there's no Planeswalker. Now we're hoping there's no Heroic Intervention. Can't beat everything, though. Heroic Intervention would be pretty brutal here. We have another land and a Gearhulk, though, so that's pretty nice. We also have a Regal Caracal. The Regal Caracals have been just absolute MVPs. They have been so very good. Well, I don't want to discard my hand, so we get to cast an approach next turn, providing he doesn't have a discard spell, which gains us just oodles and oodles of life. Tapped all of his green, which is kind of odd. Bristling Hydra, fine. We have a Blessed Alliance in our hand, or in our graveyard for our Gearhulk. It doesn't get to attack very hard either, so currently only is attacking for 5. Even if they had a discard spell, like, we're not super sad about that, because, like, they'd basically be time walking themselves. When we had a Carousel and a Gearhulk. So, like, even if he has a second creature here, that's not awful for us, because we have... Oh, Arlinn-Kor's actually pretty good here. Arlinn-Kor is a real threat. And a Manglehorn. Yep. Things went from great to not very great real quick. What all do you do? Did you just give this guy haste? That guy haste doesn't seem like it does a lot. Alright, well, we're gonna play this because we have the other card to go with it. Gives us a potential 3 blockers with an After Meltdown in our hand. I kind of want to save the Gearhulk as long as we can. I'd like to save the Gearhulk until we have an 8th mana, just in case we need to also use the, the Blessed Alliance and pay to escalate. My opponent has a lot of things going on right now. None of them seem to be too important. Opponent has a lot of things going on right now, and I don't know how many of them I care about. It's kind of an interesting spot. What the hell does this thing do? Creatures you control get +1/+1 and trample until the end of turn. That seems really good. Okay. Top deck Fumigate would be pretty insane here, that's for sure. We have 2 left in the deck. Probably should have hit that. I think I made a play mistake that turn. I was trying to protect this, but now I've just gave him a free block for no reason. I don't hate how things are looking, though. Let's make the bigger one die. So we gain a bunch of life, and he loses all of his things but 2. I'm not even worried about getting to the approach. I'm just going to go ahead and play that. I'm going to go ahead and play the land, even though I could have cycled to get to the approach quicker. But this lets me have access to the Blessed Alliance as well. What all do you do again? 3 damage to target creature or player. So yeah, you do things. You can kill this guy now. And technically only even has 1 more turn to live, because the Gearhulk into the Glimmer, if we want, gets us to the approach for the following turn. Would have got us to the approach for this turn as well, but I was a little afraid he'd be able to do too much damage. That's fine. Willing to combine block if he attacks. Did not attack. So it's 4 cards down now, so we can guarantee to get to the approach this turn if we choose. So he has to do 27 damage to us this turn. Well, he has to do more than 27. He's got to deal with the cats. The Torrential Gearhulk has 6 toughness. If it looks like we're even close to dying anyway. That card doesn't do anything. This doesn't give him haste, right? This just gives him trample. Yeah, just trample. The other side gives haste and vigilance. How do you flip back? Oh, you kill something and you flip back. So it is flip back. It does give haste. Gotcha. There's too many words on this card, man. It's confusing me. Still just don't see him being able to win because now they don't have trample. So you want to play the last card? So he's tapped out. Target opponent reveals a non-land card from his hand. You choose it and they exile that card. Alright, well, we'll play it. Whoops. So, Glimmer. If we didn't do bad math, it's 4 cards down, so... So, we want it to be the card we draw next turn. Just put one of these arbitrarily on bottom den and draw the top 2. And hope we didn't do bad math. Alright, didn't do bad math. Sweet. Everything worked out great. We have 3 life-linking blockers, and we get to approach. Sure. He's only attacking with 2 things? Alright. No, he's tapped out. I could have cast it, but we know the approach is the top card of our library, so he's tapped out. We have approached someone. Alright, that's 3-1. We have guaranteed ourselves a pity chest. I apologize if you guys hear hammering. Somebody's apparently working in the other room, and I had no idea that there was even anybody in this house. So that's kind of scary. But I don't think burglars would be breaking into our house to fix something, so I'm just going to assume it's somebody that's supposed to be here and go on about the stream and not even check on them. Well, the match has started. Do we get the sweep 4-1, or are we stuck with a pity chest? It would be hilarious if somebody just randomly broke in the house to fix things, though. Yeah, we'll mulligan. This hand's good enough to keep, but it's not very good. Definitely don't want that. Hello, Pia. How are you? Now phone's ringing. I'm also not going to pick up that. That's how lazy I am. Landlines, I swear. So anybody that's new here, keep in mind that there is a link down bottom. And in said link is a link to the Twitter. On the Twitter is a link to all the deck lists I play in every time I go live. Thank you for following Merlin Malin, Piercing Z1C Pro. I appreciate it. Alright, so if I'm looking at those 3 lands, I immediately assume our opponent's on ramp, and ramp is what I consider this deck's worst match. So I'm assuming I'm in pretty bad shape from here. Then, like, we have 3 cards in our hand that doesn't even do anything versus ramp. Whoever was doing the hammering, I believe, has went out the door. I heard a door in the other side of the house close, so... Oh, have to counterspell ramp spells. I'll actually probably use a cast out on this as well, which is why I didn't cycle it. It's pretty thin value to do that, but sometimes they just get mana screwed and you get lucky. But ramp is this deck's worst match. The problem with casting out an Ulamog and stuff like that, it's not their creatures that's the problem. It's them killing our lands. Our dex takes is 7 mana sorcery to cast, and we have to cast it twice. So if they're playing World Breakers and they're playing Ulamogs, they're just killing my lands, and I have no chance to win because my lands are dead. That's the big issue. It's not the Ulamog or the World Breaker. The deck has plenty of ways to deal with an Ulamog or a World Breaker. It's just you can't handle the land destruction. You can't really even stop the ramp spells either because their entire deck is practically ramp spells and or lands. Sometimes they miss on a land and you get lucky though. That's typically your best way to win pre-board. Post-board you have a little bit more play because you get to bring in Gear Hulks and Negates, but it's just not a good match. They sometimes don't draw a payoff spell either. Like, a lot of them are down to 4 or 5 payoff spells now. And you can beat 4 or 5 payoff spells. I have not. I have not read any of those sweepers or any of those leaks. Though I need to. I need to take the time to at some point. What was this mana cost and stuff? So that puts him to... He has Delirium now, so any following Transgress he draws is also just a kill spell. He had 7 mana and he didn't play a World Breaker, so that's good. So that means we have a chance. We really need to hit a draw 2 or something off that spell. We did not draw a draw 2 or anything off that spell, so... Probably going to have to sacrifice our own land, which is disappointing. One, two, three. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Short. So an untapped land now gives them Ulamog mana. Just have to kind of hope they don't have it. Not a lot we can do if they do have it. Well, the 40s look absolutely miserable right now. But we have nothing, so... They're dealing 2 damage to us with a desert, so that puts them further away from Ulamog. I guess they're going to cast a World Breaker and get the gifts back? But that doesn't really do anything either? I guess it gets them closer to Ulamog again. It puts them back to 1 mana from Ulamog. Sure. Okay, there's still 2 mana from Ulamog. I'm fine with that. They can literally attack me 100 times with that card. I don't care. We need to draw a draw 2. We've not drawn a draw 2 yet. Alright. That's kind of a draw 2. Scuttle the Wreckage. 2 white instant. Exile all attacking creatures target player controls. That player may search his or her library for basic land. Put those So they have to be attacking and the opponent gets lands? I don't know about that. That seems thin. What's the rarity of a card like that? And this is Ulamog, I guess. I don't know. I guess it could just be another World Breaker. I don't care about another World Breaker. He can cast all these World Breakers he wants. Somebody's hammering again. Again, I apologize if you guys can hear it. Would really like to draw a land now. That was a land, so pretty happy with that. Guess I'll go ahead and cast a Fumigate. I don't care if he buys them back, because if he buys them back, he A, can't cast it that turn, and B, it puts him further away from Ulamog, which is a card I'm truly scared about. Like, he's only on 8 mana right now, so. If he untaps and has like a Chandra or something, that's obviously bad, but. Yeah, I'm not feeling that card, but I don't like to say things are garbage without ever having tested them. Yeah, don't really care if he buys back the Ulamog. Again, it kills one land. As long as he's keeping himself off of Ulamog, I'm not really worried. It's not super great, but in a deck like this, I don't think it's horrible because you can just win. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I'm not saying the card's bad. Exile, it'll depend on how much the exile effect matters. Look, we have to see how much the exile effect matters, right? Like right now, exiling's pretty good because we have zombies that we need to get rid of. Well, there's an approach. I guess we have to take the approach. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. A land turns on that. That's pretty scary. Well, that made our decision easy. We don't have the land, so we saved 2 points of life. If you just cast Ulamog now, things aren't looking great for us. Yeah, that could be an Ulamog. Well, it's just a third World Breaker. Maybe he's playing the, We basically need to hit lands on almost every draw step the rest of the game from here. We'd also take a draw too, like a Glimmer would be nice. Alright, well, that's a Glimmer. We just want to hit 2 lands off this. We did in fact hit 2 lands off that, so. Go ahead and make him sacrifice this thing. Something halfway. Yeah, I agree. This Blessed Alliance is the best early spell in the deck. Well. So if we draw an untapped land, we beat his World Breaker, but we're probably pretty rough against Ulamog still. Every time he sacks a land, though, he's further and further away from Ulamog, so he may be just playing to build with 1 Ulamog. So an untapped land wins. Untapped land wins. Alright, so we stole a game. Alright, so Off the top of my head, since he was never playing for Ulamog that entire game and he constantly sacked his lands even though he played Traverse, I'm going to assume he's on the 5-0 list. Well, maybe not the exact 75, but a similar list to the Paul Rizzo 5-0 list from yesterday that had a Nahib, 3 World Breakers. I believe it had 1 Ulamog. Obviously, you should never just assume you know what your opponent's on, and I'm not assuming that I know what my opponent's on now, but I'm assuming he's on not a Rizzo list, rather. The Rizzo list had 3 Ulamogs, but there was another Nahib list that had 3 World Breakers and 1 Ulamog. It also had Chandra's. I don't really know what he's on, but I don't think it changes a whole lot. I'm pretty sure still we just bring in Torrential Gearhulks, we bring in Negates. Our kill conditions still approach, even though it being approached is kind of terrible. The Scents are better than Fumigates because they can remove the Ulamog, they can remove the World Breaker. But most of these decks also have Fault Not Seers, and they mostly also have Trackers, and they also have all the enchantments, so that makes this nice Hours of Revelation a real card as well. So for the most part, I like to cut some of these rafts. You don't want 6 rafts in your deck versus them, even if they do have it. And some of these Zephyr Meltdowns. Again, keep a few of them because they can play the Trackers and the... shoot. I bring fart on names bigger than nobody's business. Trackers and Fault Not Seers. But for the most part, you just have to try to get under them. And by under them, I mean you need to counter ramp spell, or you need to try to counter ramp spells. But this is the match that I consider my hardest match. It just feels like it can't win. We have a draw to. We have no interaction for ramp spells, but we have a couple of other bad spells. We'll keep it and see where it goes. This will be good versus summoner draws, terrible versus summoner draws. I don't think we can mulligan though when we have lands like this and a draw to. I'd really like to know what's getting whoever's doing the hammering is back, by the way. They usually have spells from 3, 4, and 5, and they usually don't have an extra mana. But even if they do have, even if they can play around the Censor, it's not that bad because it cycles. Like, it's not a good card, but like we have a lot of bad cards in our deck. Like Meltdowns aren't very good, Blessed Alliances aren't very good. We just don't have enough cards to sideboard out. Like a Censor would have been great here. A Censor will be great next turn if they try to play an hour. Like Censors, they usually spend all of their mana on every turn from like 3 to 6 or whatever. That's a little disappointing. That card's very good versus me. I'm going to go ahead and hold on to the Censor because it's quite useful, and I'm probably going to have 2 mana left over on this following turn. Because we will be trying to Blessed Alliance the Tracker if given the opportunity. I actually made a play mistake. I should have played a Plains. Some of these decks have had Creeping Tar Pit. Or sorry, Creeping Mode, which is why I should have played a Plains. So I would have still been able to Blessed Alliance. I don't think he should attack there, but that's fine. Maybe he's wanting me to tap my mana for some reason. Like, we can still counterspell a Chandra, which is good. One, two, three, four. Not that Chandra, though. Oh, wait, he's casting something else. Or maybe he's just sacking the clue, I'm not sure. Other gifts we can't do anything about. So yeah, he's all the way up to just whatever he wants to cast now. Ours would be not even that good of a draw step because we can't cast it. Negate was a turn late. Makes me really regret the decision for not cycling the Censor on the turn before, but I still think it was right to hold that Censor. There's just too high of a likelihood that he untapped and played something like Hours of Promise, which is a card we weren't likely to beat in that spot. I think it's still fine to counterspell this Hours of Promise, even though he obviously has all the land in the world. They can literally just start attacking and it fins his deck. Oh, he has another. It appears our opponent has another. Nope, he's got this thing. Alright, well, we don't care about that thing. Alright, so if our opponent doesn't have land destruction, we're in a really good spot. If he does have land destruction, we're in a really bad spot. Kind of convenient. Go ahead and take the 1. And we're just hoping he doesn't have a payoff. If he has a payoff, it's going to be hard for us to beat the Chandra Ultimate. We can always still draw an Hours even if he does have no land destruction spell here. Pretty much can't beat a, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So he's even has Ulamog mana even if we draw the Hour. So I'd say this game comes down to if he has it, we win. If he doesn't have it, we lose. That's just an assumption. He's only got 1 card though and 2 draw steps though, so I think there's a good chance that he doesn't have it. If he does, we are not in good shape. So there's a cast out. I think we are past the cast out portion of this game, folks. We're definitely the if he has land destruction, we lose portion of this game. If it's not Ulamog, though, we can still top deck. So, like, if it's just destroy 1 land, we can still top deck. And we're at 26. He's got 1 spell in hand, so we well, if it's Ulamog, we were dead. We had no out to Ulamog. That's 8 mana. 9. Yeah, so we had no out to Ulamog. And he can go grab another Ulamog and kill 2 more lands. It's just one of the bad parts about this deck. They just play lands you can't win. That's a Thought-Knot Seer? Well, we don't care about a Thought-Knot Seer at all. So we're going to take an additional 5 next turn, 10. Why did he not kill more of my lands? He's going to play a Thought-Knot Seer and kill that. We have to kill that. I guess we have an out then. We could hit Descent from Unsinful, and he could draw no spell. It's going to be hard for him not to draw a spell, though, because he's got the Seagate Oracle. But yeah, if we draw Descend into him having no spell over 2 turns, we have an out. Alright, well, he didn't get any of our Descends, so we technically still have an out. Alright, never mind. Well, he had a spell. He is tapping the manas. Alright, well, can't beat that. Yeah, we wasn't going to hit anyway. Yeah, that's pretty hard. Just none of these spells actually matter. Everything matters about him killing my lands and me drawing my lands. So while this match is close to impossible to win, even if you counterspell every relevant spell he plays, he just gets to his lands before you get to your lands. We'll keep this because I think it's good enough, but it may not be. A Supreme Will, a Censor, and a Negate would make this hand a lot better than it is. They generally never do anything on 2. Alright, well. Opponent cast Ulamog and we lost. Killed 2 of our lands. Ultimated Chandra. We didn't hit a cast out or anything over the course of the game, so we couldn't really stop the Chandra. Sure, you can have a land. Go ahead and sackle this guy because we're really just wanting to find a counterspell. Counterspell. And a cast out. So we're good versus Chandra, and we're good versus Fault-Not Seer now. Alright, this hand's reasonable. I mean, we expect it. I expected to lose game 1. I thought it was kind of a miracle that we didn't. Go ahead and censor that. The cards in our hand are too powerful. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's just a real bad match. Not that worried when we lose to it. If it was more popular, we would have summary dismissals and stuff like that in our sideboard. And as I was showing earlier, we have the 5 cards in our sideboard that are questionable. So, like, we could get to a point where we play any of those. So he's probably playing a Chandra this turn. I guess we'll let that resolve. And we'll probably try to cast out it. But, we're not in great shape right now. Could just untap and try to kill it. Makes our hours worse in the late game if we just cast out it now, but I guess either way that we go, we're going to be tapping our mana next turn. So it's probably better just to go this way. I'm not keeping anything but lands and negates. Hit a land and a negate. That was kind of lucky in a way. We like to draw lands over like our next 3 draw steps or whatever, but who knows? I mean, he had a Chandra ultimate, right? We're not going to beat the Chandra ultimate over X amount of turns anyway, are we? We would have used that cast out a long time before that on the Chandra. And we would have still just lost to the Ulamog. Alright, well, we need to draw, like I said, lands over basically the next 3 draw steps. We'll counterspell anything that we can literally counterspell with this negate. Big money lands over the next 3 draw steps, please. Alright, so if we top deck a land, we even beat a World Breaker. If we don't top deck a land, we're in bad shape. That's pretty cheap to build. If he gets the Chandra, we're in good shape too. So untap land for the win. Untap land. Alright, well, we got the 4-1. We had a great draw. They didn't have any ramp spells. Like, they didn't play one ramp spell till turn 5. But, yeah, I think our opponent kept a fairly thin hand. But that is our hardest match. Again, if there's going to be more of that match, or if that match is going to be more popular, we start looking to cut these 5 cards, and, like, summary dismissals can come in. Like, even one summary dismissal's probably, drawing one summary dismissal's probably enough to swing that match pretty far. What the heck? One Parliament. Well, now I'm confused. I thought you said you did that the other day, bub. Actually, I really like the name Silent Parliament. I'm sad. Anyway, so we'll talk just a couple of seconds here. Yeah, this deck, I don't know that this deck is tier 1. The only tier 1 decks are probably Zombies, Mono Red, and maybe Teamer Energy. But, like, and maybe Black Green, sorry. Oh, I didn't know. Okay, I was confused. But anyway, so, like, I appreciate the resub, by the way, Parliament. Silent. But anyway, so, I mean, this deck's incredibly fun. It's really strong. Anyway, that's going to be it for me for today. I've got a few more things to take care of around the house that I need to get done before I leave tomorrow. I would like to thank all of the new followers that showed up. I would like to thank the 2 subs I've had today, because subs are the best, and you get to top cool things like this when you sub, which make me salty as hell when I'm losing real bad and people spam them at me. But I appreciate the new follows. I appreciate the subs. For the new people, we went 4-1. 4-1. We lost to Sultai Reanimator, which seems like a pretty hard match. Oh, the Pauper. We did terrible. We went 3-3. We lost to 2 Affinity decks. I don't think the Affinity match is particularly good, and we got paired versus a mirror match opponent who had the spells in the main deck, and he had Magma Sprays out of the sideboard, and I'm pretty sure that the, what do you call it? The Stormbound Gas is the most important card out of the sideboard, and he could kill ours with 1 spell. We had to have 2 spells to kill his. So it didn't actually go particularly happy. Alright, that's fair. I'll go check it again. But, again, I appreciate everybody that stopped by today. Down below is a link to the Twitter. On the Twitter is a link to all the deck lists when we go live and stuff like that. Also on the Twitter, there is a link to my YouTube, and my YouTube has some VODs on it, some good people. I need to get about 4,000 more views on the YouTube. So that's what I'm going after now. So I'm going to host somebody. DeCandio's playing the Delirium deck, which seems kind of interesting. And then Mana Traders streaming as well. I think I'm going to watch DeCandio because Mana Trader said he was planning on drafting later, and I don't really watch draft. Eric Hawkins is streaming Mardu as well, but I'm don't really want to watch Mardu right now. But those are the 3 people that I would normally consider hosting in this spot, but DeCandio's going to get it today. DeCandio's good people. He's been in the chat room before. And I learned a lot from him, and he's practicing for his regionals, so he's definitely trying some tier 1 decks. Anyway, I've rambled on long enough. Thanks for coming, everybody, and see ya.